Good afternoon. I greet you all who joined us at Media Center Ukraine to Grum Forum. We continue our work. Ninth year of war and 134th day since the full-scale invasion of Russian Federation. And I thank you who speak the truth about this war and who speak the truth about heroic resistance of Ukrainian nation. Today we'll have a traditional briefing about the situation in sphere of security and defense. We'll speak about with the mention of defense of national police and national guard, about the events and dynamic of the last week, and our first speaker, deputy head of the MOD, Hanna. Good day, everyone. We'll start with our traditional briefing of MOD. We inform you about our work and about the operative situation on the front line of Ukraine. Today is 134th day of full-scale invasion and defense of Ukraine, and we haven't started the weekly briefing with verses. Today we will. I am not tired. I have forces. I do not let the invaders in. Like two different worlds. I am not tired. What about you? I am not tired. What about you? The answers of every of you has to be worthy of the heroic act that every day and every minute our defenders conduct. The Ukrainians are a nation of superheroes, and every minute we make heroic acts, and all the world today learns from Ukrainians how we have to defend our country. We have less resources and weapons than the enemy does, but we contain the Russian forces and cause a lot of losses to them. The war goes on, and we have no time to get tired. Everyone on their front, they work so that Russian aggressor will fail. On the workplace, in the study institution, in the hospital, on the battlefield, we all work for our victory. We believe in armed forces of Ukraine and do not get tired to bring our victory closer. Traditionally, we inform you about the event from the head of intelligence of Ministry of Defense that provides their analytical findings and their prognosis about possible development of events in the closest future. According to the data of the intelligence, the security situation around Ukraine stays complicated. The Kremlin does not refuse from implementation of any strategic goals regarding our country. Looking at the scale of and tasks and timeframes of so-called special operation, Russian Federation currently conducts the attrition war. Currently, the main efforts of the enemy are focused on establishing full control over Lugansk region that currently is not accomplished by the enemy. The most complicated situation, most difficult, is in Slavyansk and Kramatorsk and Bakhmut direction. The enemy tries to reach the geographic borders of Donetsk region. In Kharkiv and Bakhmut direction, the enemy, according to the information of the intelligence, will continue deterring our forces from moving to the state border, and will continue holding under control logistic communication en route Belgorod-Kupiansk. Zaporizhia and Novopavlovsk directions, according to data of the intelligence center, the enemy might conduct offensive on Zaporizhia or go around in direction of Velika Novosibirska Pokrovska, evidently to surround our detachments. The same way, it's not accepted that To that end, the detachments of Russian occupation forces in that direction are enforced with at least 5 battalion tactical groups. In Kyiv and Mykolaiv directions, the enemy will try to hold the captured territories of right coast of Kherson region and will conduct saboteur recon groups on the coast of Odessa and Mykolaiv regions. In the Black Sea, the ships of Black Sea Fleet of Russian Federation will continue conducting means of naval blockade of seaports Odessa and Mykolaiv. And also, the enemy currently, according to the intelligence data, is demining the aquatorials of Berdyansk and Mariupol to renew their full operation. Looking at the absence of intelligence data on creating on the territory of so-called Transnistria, Moldovan Republic, or Transnistria region of Moldova and Belarus, of offensive groups and absence on those territories, the amount of Russian troops. Currently, the head intelligence considers the probability of offensive as one of the probable scenario, but the probability is assessed as low. At the same time, Putin regime, to establish regime of hard control on temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine, conducts means that are part of Russian empire politics. On the positions of occupied administrations and other institutions, they point the officials that massively come from the aggressor country, from Russia, and they select them in the most economically poor regions of Russian Federation, from the people that want to improve their personal material conditions, participating in the occupation of Ukraine. Also, on the occupied territories, aggressor forces force Ukrainian civilians to send their children to education institutions that have pedagogic teacher personnel from Russian Federation. And if the parents do not agree to send their children to such institutions, they are threatened with forced sending their kids to special internats. We traditionally inform you about providing the uniform and finance traditional block of information, and the MOD continues the rhythmical supplies because currently that's our main priority. For a week from 30th of June to 6th of July to provide detachments of armed forces in Ukraine, we conduct over 14,000 of armored bulletproof vests, over 18,000 of helmets, over 32,000 pairs of shoes and field suits. And we continue supplies of winter uniforms. In the close future, according to agreements concluded, we expect PEP in the amount of 16,000 of bulletproof vests and 11,000 of helmets. Also, we expect increase of supplies of winter uniform. On top of those values for provision of goods, we have concluded agreements of provision of wide range for service people from tents to underwear. All that is going to be centralized from MOD to logistics of Armed Forces of Ukraine, and further it's divided according to the decision of the supervisors. We work in logic that we are talking about. We gradually form the resistance reserves. Yesterday, the Armed Forces of Ukraine had the reserve of bulletproof vests and helmets for about 5 brigades. Regarding financing, it's the same. It's done according to the plan. Payments are conducted timely, and funds are paid, as we explained, in July for June. For 6th of July, MOD financed through the military units 100% of monthly financing, meaning about so-called peacetime money, that's salaries, and for years and for rank. Also, we financed 48 47% for additional payments. What additional payments? That's the 30,000 for service during martial law and 100,000 for combat, for participation in combat. Financing of additional payments is conducted in the second 10 days of every month, and we plan to pay the full money to the military units until 20th of July. Overall, in July for June, we plan to pay over 64 billion of hryvnias. The situation is stable, and MOD formed a group of employees that provide consultancy to military units, and after 24th of February, we created many additional units, and there are organizational moments that need to be established, fine-tuned, and that process is ongoing. There are requests from units that are analyzed and processed. Also, we deal with every case of claims from the service people and their families. Also, there are victories on our juridical front. We just recently finished the case that we had over 10 years. Agreement was concluded in the mid-2000s. Was unfair. For supplies of some medical equipment, MOD had to give a vast amount of buildings that are property of MOD. Since early 2000s, this case was lagging, and finally, it's solved by juridical service of MOD. Used all means that this case is closed, that the money is not taken with no grounds from MOD, and that all the buildings remain in the management of MOD. Also, we also have interesting case on Kyiv. On 6th of July, by order of Northern Appeal Court, they keep the decision of Court of Kyiv and demanded the business of 330 square meters of building in the central part of Kyiv. That's a building that's on the land plot of MOD, one of the military towns that was illegally taken on the basis of the decision of Kyiv Council from 2011. Right now, that building that was illegally detained was returned to MOD. Also, we traditionally inform you about the operations of the medical services. Jointly, the MOD and medical forces, they put a lot of efforts into that our wounded could be treated abroad without hindrances. Also, we work with joint programs with the European Union. Also, we establish contacts separately with each country. In particular, during my visit to Poland, we had a meeting with representatives from Polish government, and we agreed about cooperation. And yesterday we had the joint session of our services of healthcare, MOD, healthcare with Polish officials, and we agreed on fruitful cooperation. Poland is willing to help our wounded, and we establish those contacts with other states as well. This week, the Japanese government gave medical equipment to some Ukrainian hospitals, military hospitals. We showed that event publicly, and we really appreciate to the government of Japan for that help, and we thank all the rest of the countries that are involved and that help us in treating and rehabilitation of our wounded. Thank you. Thank you, Brigadier General of Armed Forces, Oleksiy Hromov. What has happened now on the front line? Good afternoon, everyone. As you all know, the mission plans of aggressor, they don't change. The enemy continues efforts to get full control of territory of Lugansk and Donetsk regions. they try to create beneficial conditions to renew the offensive in Mykolaiv region. Main efforts try to focus in the east of our country. In the Zhytomyr and Kyiv directions, the situation over a week did not was not subject to any substantial changes. There are no signs of offensive group creating by the enemy, but on Belarusian territory there are detachments of Russian Federation. Also, Belarus gave full control to Russia over the aerodrome Zabrivka, where currently a means of equipping Russian military base. Territory of the aerodrome, the right now, a missile division of Iskander M and division of S-400 Triumph of Russian Federation. In the framework of announced transfer to Russia of technical complex Iskander to Belarus, they conduct preparation means to acceptance of that Iskander's groups. And the point 645 missile brigades to the south of Minsk, they build hangars for those complexes. During next month, they planned training, deploying Russian troops to train of the Academy of Majayski Academy of Russian Federation. Also, FSB and other law enforcement groups of Belarus and officers of Belarus, they conduct awareness and propaganda campaign among Belarusian troops to participate in so-called special operation in territory of Ukraine, if necessary. Today, this work, propaganda work, is conducted with the political science groups with some detachments. First, detachments of special operations and the paratrooper detachments. Also, according to information we have with the help of Committee of National Security of Belarus, the country hires ex-servicemen of pilots and special forces to conduct contracts with a private company, Liga, to be involved in war in Ukraine. Considering current affairs, further probability action of enemy will be continuing the demonstration activities in Bryansk and Humble regions that have border with Ukraine, and intelligence to study the activity of our troops. We cannot exclude the probability of saboteur groups of the enemy close to Ukrainian border of Rivne-Volynsk and Zhytomyr region. And probability of provocations of the Secret Service of Russian Federation on Belarusian objects to put the blame on Ukraine, false flag operations. The probability of independent from Russian troops invasion of Belarusian troops to participate in special operation is low. In Chernihiv, Konotop, and Sumy directions, the activity of the enemy during the week was aviation strikes, shooting at our positions of our troops that conduct their task on the border. According to the information we have, the enemy increased the capacities of fire. They moved to the Sumy direction, battery of 152 millimeter self-propelled GSN-B and reactive battery of BM Grad to the direction of Shostka. Further, we expect to increase the artillery hits of our cities and along state border, and more demonstration activities along state border. In Kharkiv direction, they conduct active defense, preventing our troops to move in direction of state border. In Slovak direction, the enemy makes a recon comeback, looking for weak spots in our defense. In some directions, they make offensive and assault groups. And Izum Slavyansk trying to push our troops from their positions and improve their tactical positions. In Sibir direction, having more troops and means with artillery, they got full control over Lysychansk. Enemy conducts assault and offensive actions, trying to reach the Lugansk region borders and to get full control of the Lugansk region. Currently, there are combat near Belogorovka and Spirna. In Bakhmut direction, the enemy continues efforts to conquer Berezka and Luganska electric station and road Lugansk-Bakhmut. On those directions, there are also combats ongoing. In Avdiivka, Kurakovska, Novopavlovsk, and Zaporizhia directions, the enemy conducts far impact on defense to bind the actions of our troops. Croatia direction, they try to get by the control over Ivanivka and Potemkin, and that they were taken by our troops last week. The enemy conducts offensive, and our defenders hold ground firmly. Not only hold grounds, but conduct assaults in other directions. Mykolaiv direction, they shoot positions of our troops with use of all range of weapons. Bessarabia direction, there are no signs of offensive groups of the enemy forming. In equatorials of Black and Azov Sea, there are still ships and submarines of the enemy. They're involved with the strikes of high precision weapons in our territory of our country. The start of the war, they made 6,443 flight of technical aviation and 626 of strikes of Iskander caliber. During 5th of July, they used 27 missiles on objects of critical infrastructure, civil and military objects, and made 14 aviation strikes of military infrastructure, logistic positions of our troops. During 5th of July, over 4 o'clock a.m., one of the missile strike was done near Dobropila, Donetsk region. During that missile strike, our detachments destroyed 6 missiles of caliber. At 8 p.m., Ermolensky region was made, and 6 winged missiles were destroyed. At 3 a.m., on the 6th of July, our detachments destroyed 2 winged missiles that were shot from submarine from Aquatorium of Oleksii on settlements Odessa and Mykolaiv regions. We understand that currently, with having the anti-aircraft equipment, it's difficult to counter the high-speed missiles of the enemy, but we do have high hopes with the kind help of our allies. Our anti-aircraft forces will secure our sky over our country. Currently, our actions witness that high efficiency on using current anti-aircraft system and high skill of our complex. At the same time, majority of air strikes of the enemy did not reach the target. Over 70% of non-government strikes and missiles, they hit fields, they killed sea or beyond places where troops are located, which is the reliable system of anti-aircraft system, and that Russian pilots don't want to enter the area where our anti-aircraft can hit them. Currently, groups of defense continue the defense operation in the defined regions. Yes, we are in defense. At the same time, we understand that only stabilization of the situation on the contact line, only reaching the more firearms will create conditions for active actions. Lately, aviation of our armed forces, rocket and artillery conducted a series of tasks. We, with high rate precision, destroyed 20 points of different management, 15 counter-barrel fires, and we destroyed the ammunition storages, and also destroyed the accumulation of enemy equipment, military equipment. The enemy has more and more losses every day. We do everything possible to decrease their offensive potential. Also, the General Staff conducts means of international cooperation. The territory of partner countries, they train special operation forces, paratroopers, aviation and navy and land forces. Only now in territory of Great Britain, there's more than 1,000 of our troopers are training. Recently, our artillery passed the training course in Germany to Ukraine officially use the military equipment that was given in the framework of our military aid to our country. The next level of our military, with help of for artillery, increase the precision and excludes hitting the civilian objects. Yes, considering that the what we have, the enemy still can have reserves in the depth of the occupied territory. But we know that people live on the occupied territory, the civilians that expect us, and they really help us. Regardless of how many kilometers they go deep into the enemy goes deep into our country, they won't be able to hold that ground. We can recall Russians about the security when, especially summertime, especially don't smoke and objects that have high explosive probability. Less profession is the head of the storage, and of whether it's ammunition or storage of fuel, because those Russian storages, they explode. Summarizing my speech, I want to say that actually, yes, the situation right now on the front line is very complicated. It's very difficult. Yes, it's true. Have to be understand that behind our dry words, hard shelling, defenders hold positions, we deter their offensive potential, etc. Behind those words, there's heart and fight of our combatants. That's blood and sweat of our warriors. It's difficult for us, but we'll do what we're doing. We'll do everything possible to free our land. Last week, Sean's direction, we saved the most important. We saved the lives of our troopers, and shortening the combat line from 120 to 56 kilometers. We could regroup our troops and move our detachments to renew their combat ability. We keep faith in our armed forces and remember that there is constitutional duty for every citizen to defend their country. Only jointly, only together, we can defend our country. Thank you. Major General Oleksiy Nadtochyi, National Guard of Ukraine. I will speak about National Guard part in freeing Ukraine. Or freeing war for freedom. Good day, dear everybody. Role of in place of National Guard in rejecting armed aggression for 7th of July this year. The Guard is a military unit with law enforcement functions. Therefore, the first part is conducting functions of military. We'll continue conducting special tasks, framework of groups of armed forces of Ukraine. Also, groups and means of National Guard use means of increasing security of critical infrastructure objects. No changes in the scope of special tasks of National Guard were made. Some positive examples and statistics data overview aviation basis of National Guard provided. 21 helicopter flights, aeromedic evacuation, 7 helicopter flight, transport transfers, 5 helicopter flights, detected 482 targets of enemy. With UAV, we found 228. Engineer and EOD detachments hold 23 prepared for ruining objects. Demining groups of National Guard. Since the start of works, detected over 14,000 artillery and engineer ammo. Diver groups continue studying and demining the bed of Dnipro, and during the week studied 7.5 kilometers. Demined 1 bridge and demined 121 anti-tank planes. Detected and raised 2 helicopters, 2 armored vehicles, 6 paratroopers groups, 1 excavator, anti-tank tanks, 31. participation of National Guards in territorial defense. We continue defense as defined by 307 objects, defined, and 95 objects of regional and local importance, 117 objects of diplomatic units and consulates of other countries. We continue participation of National Guard, combating against saboteurs with recon, blocking, isolation, search and strike, and counter-saboteur means. We ensure support of martial law regime with participation in means that are provided for by the legislation. Law enforcement functions. Personnel works on roadblocks on the territory of our state 24/7. The task force fulfill 190 roadblocks that allows fastly find the offenders, detain and seize weapons, and find saboteur groups. Since start of the military aggression of the enemy, during fulfillment of tasks of martial law, National Guardians detained and gave to the Secret Service of Ukraine 354 people, suspects to be accomplices of saboteur groups. Over 16,000 civilians for administrative criminal offenses. Seized 111 firearms, over 10,000 of ammos, 174 units of cold weapons, 3 grenade throwers, 72 grenades, 10 kilos of explosives, 3 anti-tank mines, and 6 artillery rounds. The start of full-scale aggression, security of important objects of regional importance, detained over 564 offenders, out of them 4 attempt to enter the object, 4 for violation of permit and inter-object regime, 425 person for administrative offense near objects that are secured, 104 for criminal offense, 4 for theft of material values, 27 persons. National Guard personnel cooperate with volunteer and charity organizations in providing help and delivering help with humanitarian aid to civilians that need it. This week, Guardians help to deliver foodstuffs and medical aid and first necessity aid to families with many children and civilians that to settlements in the Kyiv region. Last week, there was exchange of prisoners of war. Right now, there is provision of high qualified medical aid to National Guardians that were released from captivity. National meetings are conducted to return our warriors to normal life. Psychologists are working. For courage and heroism, at time of fulfilling task on rejecting full-scale military aggression, awarded 2,510 personnel of National Guard. 17 got the highest award, Hero of Ukraine. Regretfully, 10 of them after their death. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you to General of Police Oleksiy Serheyev, and we'll speak about security and controlled territories of country. Good day, dear colleagues. 5th month, National Police continues task and force regime and with implementation of means on securing public order and countering crime. One of the priorities is registering, documenting, and investigation of war crimes. We conduct prophylactic means detecting saboteurs, especially at the border regions. Organized work on roadblocks in all the state, and special control police is work on search and rescue for kids and defending their rights in wartime. Actively use K9 units of police also at combat area. Fresh data regarding investigation of war crimes. Investigators started 222 cases on conducting war crimes of Russian Federation and their accomplices and other criminal offense related to martial law, mostly for the articles number 438 violating norms and violating norms and traditions of war. Article 5000 of violating integrity and collaboration. Working on possible accomplices to the occupation troops, collaboration in terrorist and saboteur activities against Ukraine. As I mentioned, on 26th of May, National Police on all territory of Ukraine conducts prophylactic meets. During those meets, police assessed over 68,000 people. As a result of their checks, almost 3.9 thousand people were transferred to Secret Service. Over 100 were arrested and many were indicted. Over 2.6 thousand of cases started for crimes collaboration with occupation troops. And 26th of June, for illegal turnover of weapons and turnover of weapons, there was a person from Oleksiy. We seized weapons, 1 kilo cannabis, and ammunition. Police of Vinnytsia detained a person of Moldova that organized illegal transfer of civilians of draft age to move them from the country, from the not in the control point. Also, we try to prevent the illegal turnover of weapons. Over the period, we found over 2.5 thousand cases of illegal handling of weapons. Over a day, we registered over 20 such cases. We seized 935 pieces of weapon, 352 handguns, 44 shotguns, also and up to grenade throwers. During search of house of Mykolaiv, we seized 2 grenade throwers, different kinds of grenade throwers, ammunition. 29th of June in Poltava region, during time of search of Lubny, we seized grenade throwers, 122 ammunitions, and artillery rounds. We continue operations on roadblocks. Daily, we ensure functioning of 522 roadblocks where 24/7 over 1.6 thousand of police officers work. With the help of informational portal and Blockpost app, we found 376 persons that were had a search warrant on them. Over 2.9 thousand of suspect persons that could be accomplices of saboteurs and collaboration activity. Also, we found many transport vehicles that were in search. With close cooperation with armed forces and National Guard, during service at roadblocks, we seized 123 units of weapons, 13 grenades, and documented over 5,000 of administrative offense. On 4th of July, the roadblock of Chernovitsky region, we stopped the vehicles. During checks of vehicle, we found that the driver was participating in illegal troops, and also checking items of Chernovitsky region person. We found rounds of shotguns and artillery. Also, Russia uses saboteur groups and uses persons that are collaborators. Since the start of the war, a full-scale invasion, we found 92 saboteur groups, detained 1,424 persons. Over 1,000 of persons were moved to given to the Secret Service. In the Khmelnytsky region, we registered illegal activities of Khmelnytsky region that posted on internet materials that support military aggression of Russian. 937 cases were started on the collaboration means. In the Mykolaiv region, on collaboration activity, we discovered 2 people of center that publicly supported of aggressor. It did not recognize sovereignty of Ukraine. EODs of police continue checking the territories that were occupied and where the combat area was. Over 9,000 of calls were there, and over 5,000 of hectares were checked, and seized over 95,000 of ammo and over 2 metric tons of explosives. K9, since the first days of war, are involved with tasks. Also, K9 with their dogs, over 2.7 times were involved with on the roadblocks. With help of service dogs, we found and seized over 1.2 thousands of units of weapons and over 452 kilos of explosives and over 52 kilos of drugs. Also, they're involved with for patrolling for public safety and help with evacuation of civilians. Since the start of a full-scale invasion, we had over 2,095 of notification of missing persons and 352 means. Over 3,000 of children were found, and the rest we conduct search and rescue. 156 calls we had from persons that they stopped and they lost touch with the people in the occupied, the relatives on the occupied territories. Detachments of National Police continue fulfilling tasks in the regions and ensure law and order in our country. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you. I would like to invite you all for Q&A for journalists. Dear colleagues, please. Good afternoon. You could inform 1 second. I have 2 questions. First of all, to Deputy Minister of Defense. Does the Minister of Defense continue on negotiations regarding supplies from international partners? And what percentage of what Ukraine asked is now supplied to the armed forces? The second, to Mr. Oleksiy Hromov. Experts say that Russia takes operative pause on the front line and moves their economy to the economy rails. Will Ukraine have enough time to train military, and who are we training firsthand? What is the situation in Crimea with new groups of enemy? Do they prepare to move new forces to Kherson region? WMOD continues negotiations on international aid, military aid for Ukraine. Regarding the figures and percentages, we explained that those needs are dynamic and change the way the situation on the front line changes. And also, it all depends on the targets that we're speaking about. If we're speaking about stopping the enemy, it's one amount of weapons that we need. If we're speaking about deoccupation, it's a different thing. And deoccupation also has different boundaries until 24th of February or until 2014. So it's a dynamic figure, yes? Position front line. Yes, we observe that the enemy somewhat decreased their activity. So it not strike, but tactical actions, the infantry on the field. Yes, there is a trend to decrease of combat. But at the same time, we have a very difficult situation. Yes, the enemy understands that they almost managed to capture Lugansk region, and the next target, according to their strategic plan, is getting full control on Donetsk region. So they try to regroup, move their reserves and military units. We track, the MOD track, intelligence tracks that, and our structures track that. Also, the general staff uses necessary means that are relevant in this situation. regarding renewal of compatibility, we don't have the purpose to renew our compatibility only within that period of time. It's a sustainable process. It lasts since the first day of aggression of the enemy. Renewal of compatibility and preparing new combat detachments. As I said, we need mobilization resource for our further active means on freeing our territory. We clearly understand that without weapons that will be provided by our partners, mobilization resource separately or weapons separately, that won't be in the same plan. That could change the situation. But currently, the weapons are supplied, and the weapons that are supplied, the service personnel are ready to use it on the territory of our country in the defensive operation. Yes, actually, currently, there is training of our personnel on our training grounds and on training grounds of the allies in Germany, in the UK, in other countries, but according to joint agreement, we don't call the places. They train land forces, we train them to use new equipment that we didn't have. Also, currently, there's training of detachments, farm forces, not just drivers or commanders of howitzers, but full detachments in the framework of creating, according to joint agreement between Ukraine and the UK. The training was done for land, for paratroopers, and of anti-aircraft, air forces, and Navy also. Thank you. More questions? I have a question to Ms. Hanna. Would the resign of Boris Johnson will have an impact on support of Ukraine by the UK? Could you please comment? And question to General Hromov. Russia confirms that, says that killed Ukrainian soldiers on Zmyny Island, that put a Ukrainian flag there. Can you comment on that? I don't know, Ms. Hanna, how prepared you are to comment. Well, actually, we have partners and friendly relations with the UK in regards of political processes that are happening there. That's the competence for comment of the MFA, so MOD cannot comment on this. We'll just have to watch, yes. We actually got control on Zmyny Island. Last week we had fire control, preventing the enemy to take the remaining of their detachments of their equipment from the island. Currently, yes, the service personnel physically got control of Zmyny Island, and I want to say that all the service personnel that were involved with this task, they all returned to the point, all returned alive, yes. Simratova Suspilna, I have a question to Mr. Hromov. What are directions on cities are under the biggest threat of offensive or probable capture? The enemy tries to get full control over Lugansk region. Firstly, it's Bilohorivka, Spirne. Right now there's combat there. Besides, as I mentioned, the enemy tries to get full control over Luhansk electric station and Platform Road, Lugansk Bakhmut, and settlement Berestova. Right now there's combat there, but it doesn't mean that other frontline plots there's no combat. The situation differs, changes every second, and the enemy constantly makes far impact on our detachments. With artillery fire or aviation, the combat is ongoing on all the front line. More questions?
A question for General Hromov and for the Minister of Defense.
Please.
Yes, I have a question for the Ministry of Defense and also for General Hromov. For the last days and weeks, you have been underscoring the importance of the HIMARS systems and the NASAMS. Also, President Zelensky underscored that. I would like to know what other types of weapons do you think that will be crucial for the near future in your two strategies to defend and to deoccupy zones that Russians have occupied? And linked to that, I would like to know your opinion about General Ben Hodges. He was the commander of the European forces of the United States in Europe, I mean, and he defended the need of Ukraine to receive warplanes, jet fighters. I don't know how is the situation, if you think that this would be possible in the future. Thank you.
Currently, yes, we're actively use all the weapons that we received from our partners, and we use the weapons that we had, that our military had. Actually, yes, high quality and very powerful strikes, very powerful impact on the enemy is conducted by HIMARS. Yes, it would be preferable for us to have ammos that have a longer range, but we use what we have currently. Would be happy to, for further help regarding other samples of weapons and military equipment for anti-aircraft. There's no secret. We on a daily basis, daily there is missile threat, there's rocket threat. Every day our civilians feel fear that couldn't be stroken by the enemy. We need safe skies. We do need safe skies. Currently, it's possible with with powerful anti-aircraft missiles, with the complex with the anti-rocket, anti-missile, or warplanes. What would be the way? What would be provided by the partners? How it will be done? Would gladly use both, and I'm convinced that our service personnel will be able to work with jets, planes, like they work with the other weapons that is kindly provided by our allies and partners. Thank you for your kind of information. Oleksiy Hromov with us, Serheyev, Hanna, Maliar, and Oleksiy Nadtochyi were with us. Dear friends, thank you, and stay with us. And we believe in Armed Forces of Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes.